Namaste everyone, it's Sahara Rose here from eatfeelfresh.com. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Ayurvedic dosha Vata. So if you don't know what Ayurveda is the world's oldest health system. It originated in India 5,000 years ago, and it is based on essentially bio-individuality, that each person has their own unique constitution, and that constitution is comprised of the 5 elements. The 5 elements are fire, air, ether, which is space, water, and earth. So these 5 elements make up 3 doshas. 3 doshas are basically energy types. They call them Vata, which is kind of the air and space. I like to think of it as the wind. Pitta, which is fire and water. I like to just call it fire. And then Kapha, which is earth and water, and I just call it earth to make it super simple and easy to understand. So if you've taken my quiz on my website, eatfeelfresh.com, you got an analysis of what your doshic combination is. If you haven't taken it, it's up on eatfeelfresh.com. It'll pop right up and you'll see it. So I separated the results between the mind and the body to really give you a good understanding of what is going on in you, because I noticed that a lot of my clients, they had totally different traits in their body and different traits in their mind, and there's lots of imbalances going on nowadays. So it's a really good idea to get a thorough understanding of what is going on in you mentally and physically. So the most common doshic constitution I see, and I've had thousands and thousands of people take my quiz and come to my workshops, is Vata. So what is Vata? So Vata, as I mentioned, is air and space energy. I like to think of it like the wind. So the wind is moving, it's cold, it's dry, it's unpredictable. You never know which direction the wind is going to blow. It's very fluid. That's essentially what Vatas are. So Vatas mentally have a lot of wind inside of them. They go from one idea to the next. They have a hard time actually sticking to one thing. On the good side, that makes them very creative and artistic, but on the bad side, that makes them start a lot of projects and not finish up with it. So if that resonates with you, that's Vata going on in the mind. So what does Vata mean in the body? So the wind, it's cold, it's dry, and it's moving. So if someone has a lot of wind in them, what does that mean? Gas, air. So if you notice that you have a lot of actually gas and air movement inside of you, you're feeling bloated, like there's just air stuck inside of you, that's Vata. As well as being cold and dry. So from a temperature perspective, if you're just cold all the time, like just shivering, like I know I used to be super Vata and I was just like shaking, couldn't even go to sleep without like 3 sweaters on and 5 pairs of wool socks. That was my Vata energy, just way too high. So if you're cold all the time and you have really dry skin, perpetually dry skin, you can put all the oils and all the lotion on and nothing helps. That's Vata. That's something going on within. And that's what Ayurveda addresses, Our skin is a reflection of our internal health. So if you're feeling Vata, cold, dry, bloated, gassy, constipation is another big one, because your stool literally becomes so cold and dry that it gets stuck. And that's why Vata stools are like little bits at a time. So what do we do when there's excess Vata? Well, the first thing that we have to do is we have to warm up the body from within. So that means including more warming foods in the diet. So instead of doing salads and smoothies, do like cooked vegetables, soups, curries, things like that. The reason is because it makes it much more easy to digest. When food is cold, the body requires a great deal of energy expenditure to heat up that food and to break down its fibrous cell walls. And that's energy taken away from healing yourself. So that's why it's really important to have, instead of, if you're going to have your kale, just cook it, steam it. If you're going to have your vegetables, instead of eating them raw, roast it. Doesn't mean forever. It doesn't mean you can never eat raw foods again. It just means for the period of time while you build your digestive fire back up and you get yourself out of this Vata imbalance, you should stay away from raw foods. I had to stay away from raw foods for like a year, and it was really hard because I used to be a raw vegan, but I overdid it and my Vata became too high, and every time I ate raw foods like a salad, I felt so bloated and I didn't feel good, and I had to start listening to my body and take raw foods out of my diet, build my digestive fire back up so I could include, now I can eat raw foods and have no problem because now I'm back in balance. So if you're noticing that you're feeling bloated or just not feeling really good after eating a raw meal, take them out of your diet for a period of time and include more warming foods and see how you feel after a few weeks. The next thing that Vatas should do is include more root vegetables into their diet. The reason is because root vegetables are literally grown under the ground, so they have grounding properties. We take on the energy of everything we eat. So if something was grown under the ground, it literally has roots and it's very sturdy, it's very earthy, and that's going to allow us to have more structure and stability and support in our bodies. So root vegetables include sweet potato, butternut squash, parsnip, turnip, ginger, carrots, beets. Just go to the grocery store and look at anything that has little roots coming out of it, and those are the foods you want to include in your diet. I recommend roasting them, steaming them, or cooking them in some way and not eating them raw. The last thing Vatas should do is practice mindfulness and focusing on just one thing at a time. So Vatas mentally have the tendency to multitask. They start a little bit of one thing, then they start doing another, and then before they know, they become overwhelmed because they're doing so many different tasks at once that it's hard for them to concentrate. So if you're someone with your hand in a lot of different honey pots, just try to focus on one thing. If you're on the computer, finish one task, then go to the next thing. If you're eating, focus on your meal and don't, be on the computer at the same time. And that goes with everything in life. Vatas can easily become super anxious because there's just so much movement going on mentally. So it's really important to just hone back in and become mindful. For example, after the gym, when your body is going and you have tons of adrenaline, just take a few moments to breathe and connect back in with yourself and find that rooting and structure within. And that's really going to help you mentally, physically, emotionally, and give you just the earth energy that Vatas are so lacking in. So again, warming foods, root vegetables, and mindfulness. These are the three most medicinal things that Vatas can include in their diets and lifestyle. And I promise you, if you switch your diet and lifestyle to include these three things, you're going to notice drastic results. Trust me, I was a Vata too. Let me know if you have any questions. I post tons of recipes and advice on my Instagram, eatfeelfresh.com, and have eatfeelfresh, and have tons of recipes on my website, eatfeelfresh.com. So check it out. I have free gifts, articles, the quiz that I mentioned, and I'm constantly updating my Instagram and website. So would love to hear back from you. If you're a Vata, let me know if these things worked for you. Let me know what didn't, and always here for you and always ready to make new videos. So let me know what topics you want me to discuss, and I'll do it for you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Love you all. Namaste.